Oh, sorry. I was too busy not making videos to see you there.
Long story short, I started a business. Finally. I'm calling it Columbia Customs. I'll give y'all some more information on that later, but for right now, we're gonna focus on rewiring this little Chinese quad. Now, originally, wiring was really intimidating, and I honestly paid someone to do it. I just didn't want to have to deal with it. But after watching a lot of YouTube videos and looking at a few wiring diagrams, I finally figured it out, and I'm gonna try and give you guys the most clear and concise version of it possible.
The typical wiring harness is an absolute mess. Mostly just because they're made to plug in. But when you're missing components and you don't know what plugs into which, it's a lot harder to figure out.
In reality, wiring is a lot more simple than that. You just need to know what does what.
Depending if you have kickstart, electric start, or both, there will be 1 to 2 circuits in this entire thing. This will work no matter if your engine's kickstart or electric start. If it's electric start only, or you just want to use electric start, it's a matter of adding this little solenoid.
First thing I'm going to do is take all the plastics off and get all the wiring harness out. It's a lot easier to work on one of these things if you can actually see all of it at once.
Pretty much everything's off. I just need to take off the switches on the handlebars. Now I'm going to show you guys the components you need for the basic spark circuit. The easiest way to set this all up is to cut these components off this massive jangled mess of a wiring harness and lay them out. What you're going to need are the CDI and the connectors and your spark coil. Along with this, you can recycle the wires from your wiring harness and keep everything color-coded. It's a lot more simple that way. In terms of tools you're going to need to put this all together, a pair of wire cutting pliers, some heat shrink wrap, soldering iron, and solder. Just to be clear, this is the most simple circuit. It doesn't have a kill switch. This is just to see if your engine's going to run. Don't ride it this way or you might kill someone, and I don't want to get sued. While everything's disconnected, I'm just going to really quick explain what everything does. So the CDI is in control of your spark. Wires coming out of your engine. This is the wire that provides the spark, red and black. The spark timing is blue and white. The white and yellow are 12 volt, so this is your AC current that goes to the rectifier. And then the green one is your ground. The spark coil is what actually provides the spark to the spark plug. I'm going to explain the wiring for the CDI in terms of location of the pin, because not all of these will have the same colors and setup, just so that it's more clear. So from the top left of your CDI connects up with the blue and white coming from your engine. The bottom right connects up to the red and black coming from your engine. And then the bottom left, the green, connects to the green coming from your engine. And then out of that, you're going to connect up this green cable to these two green cables. And then the top left, the black and yellow, is going to get connected up to the black and yellow on the coil. Alright, so this is a diagram of the very basic spark circuit I drew up. Coming out of your engine, you have your black and red, which goes to your CDI. You have your blue and white, which goes to your CDI, and you have your ground, which goes to your CDI. Then you have your two 12-volt leads. We're not worrying about this right now because this is for lights and a charging system, and if you have a kickstart motor, you're not going to have to worry about that. Then, coming out of the CDI, you have your black and yellow, which goes to the spark plug coil, and also a connection of the ground, which goes to the ground on the spark plug coil, which then goes to your spark plug. So a quick key to this, if you can actually read my handwriting. I'm gonna connect it all up. Alright, so I don't have anything soldered yet, but here's your basic circuit. Red and black from your engine goes to the bottom right of the CDI. Your blue and white from the engine goes to the top left of the CDI. Your ground and green from the engine go to the bottom left of the CDI. And then that ground also connects up with the ground or green coming off of your coil. And then besides that, you have this little kill switch, which is optional. There's other ways to set up a kill switch, so you don't have to have that connected necessarily. These, especially if you're trying to start up the engine, have them disconnected, because the amount of power that comes out of them, they will create an arc. And if you have gas lying around and gas vapors, that's going to be, explosive. If you have a kickstart motor, you should be ready to test spark. To do this, take out your spark plug. Pretty sure this one's junk, but we're just going to use it for demonstration purposes. Plug it into your coil. Make sure your spark plug is touching a bolt or exposed metal on the head for a decent ground. And then kick it over and look for a spark in that gap right there. However, I don't have a kickstart motor, so I'm going to have to set up the electrical attach the other ground on the coil to the frame. Make sure everything else is connected. No leads are touching. So let's say you set this all up and you're still not getting any spark. What we're going to do is really quick go through and test all the individual components, starting from the spark plug and working our way back to the CDI and eventually the engine. The only thing you're going to need to test all this is a digital multimeter. First, to test for spark, set it to 20 volts DC. Unplug your spark plug. Take the negative black lead and make sure it touches the little piece of metal that's in the back of there. And then take your other one and make it touch ground. Once you're holding everything in place, turn the motor over and you should see a massive jump in power. Just like so. You do that and it's still not working. It's not showing any power on the multimeter. Next step is we're going to be testing the coils. Now to do this, go to the connection we just made and do the same thing. Put the black on the open connection on the black wire and put the red on the open connection on the green wire. Turn it over. If there's still no spark, it could be the CDI. To test this blue wire, we're actually going to switch the multimeter to resistance, which is ohms. This weird little symbol right here. Switch it to some absurdly high number. Attach one lead to the blue wire. Attach the other to the ground on the engine. This is a lot easier to do with more than one person, but if you can get it all, once it's all in position, turn the engine over, and you should see a change in resistance. So the reason you test this one with ohms is because this is the spark plug signal. So as a little magnet goes around in here, each time it passes it, it actually disconnects it, which then lets the CDI know, okay, it's time to spark. So let's say that's working, but you're still not getting any spark. Move on to your black and red. For black and red, we're going to go back to current. Same thing. Make sure the lead has a solid connection. And make sure it's grounded. Before you turn it over, that you have it held here hands-free, because if you're touching this and some part of the frame, it'll give you a good shock. Alright, go through, turn the motor over, and you should see a difference in current. If both of those are working and you're still not getting spark, go over all your connections once again, and then the problem is most likely the CDI. The other possibility could be that this ground, which comes out of the motor, is not properly grounded in there, or not properly actually touching the base of the block or the engine block. Alright, let me reiterate, that is not the final setup you should use in terms of wiring, because there's no kill switch. There's also no charging system, so if you're running a electric start motor, your battery will eventually die unless you get something like a $6 battery float charger from Harbor Freight or whatever. I'll do more videos updating on the rest of it, so building a kill switch, hooking up possible key start, and push button start, and then setting up a charging system, which is all pretty simple. It's just I didn't have time to put it through this video. I want to get it out quick so I can continue getting back to work and pushing out these projects so I can make some money to put into, wait for it, the cross cart. I was blessed. This 1984 250R two-stroke motor pulled right out of the sketchiest vehicle Honda ever made, the three-wheel Death Machine ATC. I'm going to be Frankensteining these two frames together. Basically chopping off the top, adding some kind of roll cage, etc. Having the exhaust come out the back. Unfortunately, not independent rear suspension, just because control arms are very expensive and I don't have all the materials or money for that right now, and I'm trying to do this on a budget. But that's for another video. Let me know if this helped you at all. It took me a while to actually learn what everything did, and I still don't fully understand exactly what the CDI does. I know the role it plays, but I don't know how it does it, and it's nice to know. So if anyone does know, please leave it down in the comments, or any questions you have, leave them down in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them. But for now, be sure to follow the official Karting Kid Instagram account for all the updates. I post a lot more on there than I do on here. I'll also try and do little videos and shorts on stuff like this, just wiring up speakers to some handlebars and putting it on my good friend's mini bike. With the initial start and expansion of my business, I'm able to do a lot more and have a lot more access to different stuff. So I'll be learning a lot. I'll be sure to share any tips and tricks with you guys as long as I don't forget to make videos.